On November 24, 1971, a man in a business suit holding $200,000 in cash stepped off the rear stairs of a Boeing 727 and into a freezing thunderstorm. It remains the only case of air piracy in the history of United States commercial aviation that the FBI has never been able to solve. Despite a 45-year investigation and a list of over 800 suspects, the hijacker seemed to evaporate the moment he hit the air. To understand how a phantom pulled off a flawless crime, we have to look at the few physical remnants he actually left behind and what they tell us about the man himself. The reconstruction begins with the man who sat in seat 18E. He bought his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He appeared to be in his mid-40s, wore a dark suit with a black tie, and ordered a bourbon and soda while waiting for takeoff. Shortly after departure, he handed a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. When she didn't immediately read it, he leaned in and told her he had a bomb. He opened his briefcase to reveal a tangle of wires and red cylinders. His demeanor remained chillingly calm, forcing the crew into immediate compliance. This initial interaction shows a man who was highly premeditated. He understood the era's lax security and possessed the psychological discipline to control his nerves while threatening a commercial flight. Once the plane landed in Seattle, his demands for $200,000 and 4 parachutes were met. In exchange, he released all 36 passengers completely unharmed. Airborne again with only the crew, he ordered the pilot to maintain a specific, unusual flight path. Stay below 10,000 feet, keep the speed at a sluggish 150 knots, and leave the rear air stairs deployed. The Boeing 727 was practically the only airliner of its time that could support a mid-air jump from the rear. Its unique design allowed a person to exit without being struck by the tail stabilizers. These specific technical requirements indicate that Cooper held intimate knowledge of aviation engineering or had extensive experience as a military paratrooper. At 8 p.m., the pilots felt a sudden change in cabin pressure. Cooper was gone. He had jumped into the night somewhere over the rugged terrain of southwestern Washington. The environment he entered was lethal. He faced a 10,000-foot drop into a pitch-black wilderness during a freezing rainstorm with no visibility of the ground below. The FBI launched a massive search effort through the dense forests and riverbanks. They spent weeks scouring the region, but the search turned up no sign of the man or his equipment. The conditions suggest a fatal impact. However, the complete absence of a body or a parachute canopy presents a paradox. He was either an incredibly skilled survivor, or the forest swallowed every trace of his failure. The case remained stagnant for 9 years until a young boy playing on the banks of the Columbia River stumbled upon something buried in the sand. He found 3 decaying bundles of $20 bills, totaling $5,800. The paper was splotchy and water-damaged, having been exposed to the elements for years. FBI technicians matched the serial numbers to the ransom money given to Cooper. It was the first and only physical evidence of the cash ever recovered. This discovery doesn't clarify his fate, it complicates it. It could mean his body washed away with the current, or it could have been a deliberate plant by a successful escapee to lead the FBI in the wrong direction. Over the decades, investigators followed hundreds of leads, but no evidence has ever definitively tied a specific person to the plane that night. In 2016, the FBI finally ended the active investigation, admitting that the answers might be permanently lost to the history of the Pacific Northwest. We are left with the portrait of a man smart enough to plan a perfect hijacking, but perhaps brazen enough to attempt an unsurvivable jump. Whether he walked out of those woods or remains buried beneath them is a secret he took into the night.